What is up, rebel losers and Mars colonists? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode, we are starting Frozen Teardrop Volume 3. We have concluded the Rondo of Redemption arc, and are starting the Requiem for Perpetual Chain arc. Last time, the Bulge was attacked. Aoi and Sace Clark were killed in the process, leaving Odin to raise little Hiroyui into the psychopath he is destined to be. Odin was ordered to kill Vaunt, but someone else beat him to the punch. After Vaunt's death, Trace became a recluse. This time, we learn more about Mars Century and its divergence from After Colony. A nameless boy assassinates Milliardo Peacecraft and joins the circus. Also, a young girl from the Winter family steals a Gundam. So let's get into this. This novel begins with a quote by Dorothy about two people with the name Hiroyui. One preached peace, while the other is a weapon for war. This is a very confusing way to start the novel, and I'll explain at the end. MC 0022, next winter. We change perspectives to a nameless boy. He has never had a name, but this doesn't bother him for the same reasons that he doesn't believe in the past. Subjectivity of humans creep in. He believes it is just better to surrender your body to time. History just breeds an ideological time sink. 5 years ago, the Martian Federation declared independence from the Earth Sphere, United Nations, or ESUN. The first president was Milliardo Peacecraft. He ruled without spilling any blood. They began the Mars Century and diverted history and calendars from the Earth Sphere. This made sense as Mars had longer days. However, both Mars and the Earth fell into hard times and people started regretting their declaration of independence. MC 0021, First Winter. A summit was happening in Relina City. Many from the Earth Sphere come to this event. Among them are the President's Chief of Staff, Lady Un, and Ambassador Sylvia Noventa. She is the daughter of Field Marshal Noventa. Hiro wanted her to kill him for killing Noventa, but he asked so aggressively. It's the scene where he goes, "Kill me, you coward." I'm sorry, you coward. It's such a good scene. This dude can't be around people. At the center of the ballroom is a cryo capsule which holds Princess Relina. Rumors are that she is stuck in the chamber. Milliardo addresses the people. Halfway through the speech, the nameless boy's plan goes into action. He pretends to protect Milliardo, but he pulls out a gun and pulls the trigger. This nameless boy kills Milliardo Peacecraft. He doesn't care about politics. He is a man who simply follows orders. A dog of war. The nameless boy runs. He uses his backup escape route. Dude has emergency plans for his emergency plans. The kid hides for about a week in the ventilation shafts with no food or water before making his escape. When he heads outside, he unfortunately couldn't see Phobos or Deimos in the sky. As he flees, he hears a violin play. It is a man and a young girl who is playing Rimsky-Korsakov's Scheherazade, which sounds a little something like this. The man tries his gun and refers to himself as Dr. T. He says he has no name, just like him. He introduces the young girl, Catarina Winner. She says they could kill him now, or he could walk back to the city and the citizens can kill him. Dr. T says there is a third option. He could come with them. The nameless man thinks the violin was hiding a weapon, but it is merely a violin. He joins them for now. They get out of the city. While crossing Mars, Catarina plucks a tune that Dr. T refers to as Endless Waltz from his childhood. The kid is taken to a circus tent. It is on a small island that doesn't get too much traffic. There he meets a man with the same eyes as Catarina. He says that he is early. The girl refers to the man as Big Brother. He doesn't seem to be used to Mars' atmosphere yet. The man goes by the name Professor W. It is Catra. Also, there's no images of Silver Fox Catra as an old man. Someone draw this, please. He asks Dr. T what the T stands for. Professor W says Troa, but T says it is Triton. Things are moving faster than they expected as he shows a hologram of Milliardo's funeral. Noin is probably taking it the hardest, leaving her their two kids, Nina and Millie. They look onto the hologram to see Noin and the kids wiping dry eyes. This all seems to be a sham. Behind them is a blonde, mysterious man. It must be Zex. There has been a deadlock amongst their politicians, and many are fleeing to the Lenangreen Republic, where Zex assumes power. On a different holo broadcast, Zex announces that the Lenangreen Republic is seceding from Mars. This is Superman levels of, we're all just pretending this guy is a different guy now? Okay. They want the nameless boy to rise up and help the citizens who can't defend themselves. The boy finds Professor W to be a clown. He says, no, that's Dr. T, and he only does it on Mondays now, I think. They want to train him as a pilot. Drought-resistant algae found on the Europa surface is what allows them to terraform Mars. They're pumping the skies with greenhouse gases to get the breathable atmosphere going. but it still remains unbreathable due to rich carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. A scientist by the name of Lana Green is the one who researched this algae during the AC era. When exposed to sunlight, it grows at an exponential rate. They called it Jovian moss. This accelerated the greenhouse gas effect on Mars. What was expected to take centuries will now take decades. People in AC feared potential catastrophes. One catastrophe happened on Mars when MO7 crashed onto the Martian surface. It contained Jovian moss and people lost control. It started with dust storms, but then the oxygen levels increased. Water began to rise and the entire area became a sea. The people stayed and became a maritime nation. This is the Lana Green Sea, which became the Lana Green Republic. Much of Mars is in the para-terraforming period, which is a fancy way of saying civilization still lives in domes. To build these domes, Milliardo created Mars suits. These were eventually turned into weapons. But what he wants to show the nameless boy is not Mars suits, but rather mobile suits. Frozen Teardrop goes full Fukuda. Mobile Suit stands for Mobile Suit Standards for Manipulative Order Build and Industrial Labor's Extended Suit. Don't you just hate it? Dr. T shows him Prometheus and Scheherazade. Gundam Prometheus is developed by Dr. T and Professor W. It is a close combat unit that holds an array of missiles. It uses temperature tubes that are called heat stinger blades. The blades are powered by a flame core. It also has shoulder-mounted cannons. However, the design is incomplete and intentionally left unpainted and unfinished. It uses a protective cloak to cover its appearance. There isn't any real data on Scheherazade, but its appearance is similar to Sandrock. This is named after a storyteller from 1001 Nights, and it shows cunningness and resilience. The lore around Prometheus, on the other hand, is that he stole fire from the gods, and it's all about defiance. The boy asks Dr. T if the two are really siblings, and he tells him to go figure it out for himself. He wonders which one he will pilot. Another girl drops down from above. It happens to be Catherine, or Miss Catherine, as she likes to be called now. She slugs him for gawking at her, and she calls him rude. He laughs and says, "Sorry, Mrs. Catherine." She hits him again and says, "It's Miss Catherine." Oh my, new fetish unlocked. It will be 750 days until the mobile suits will be complete. They're heading to Earth to train under heavier gravity. It will take 6 months to travel to Earth from Mars. While traveling to Earth, he undergoes extensive trajectory drills without using any computers. Math without a calculator? Ugh, no thanks. For 180 days, the nameless boy did training that was essentially training for the circus. Once in the Earth sphere, they went to an abandoned colony. They continued training under 3 times Mars gravity. Many bones were broken during this time. She brought in lions and tigers and had knives thrown at him. They then increased to 6 times Mars gravity. As cold as Miss Catherine was, she was also very encouraging. The next test involved thin air, low pressure, and biting cold environments while doing the trapeze. They increased to 9 times Mars gravity. His body adapted to every environment thrown at him. MC0022, next spring. They get a message from Dr. T saying that things have changed and to come back. A new president was elected. They watch a newsfeed to find that it is Relina who has been elected as new president of the Martian Federation. They're confused as Relina is supposed to be sealed away in a cryo chamber. She dons the mask, legs X, so people think that she may be a double. She's going by the Peacecraft name instead of Darlian. She plans on working closely with the Lana Green Republic. We just ignoring the guy who faked his death and took over another nation? Jesus, what's happening? MC0022, first winter. Their shuttle is called Phobos. On their way back to Mars, what they call an X-10 class solar flare happens. They scramble to shield Phobos. A distress call comes in. A transport ship, the Kubrick, messed up their radiation shielding and need a rescue. They tell them to send over schematics so they can fix their shielding. They will have 300 seconds to match trajectory, speed, board, and exit. They match speed and head to the Kubrick. They had to fix the radiation shield, but it eats up their time. So he needs to get into the Kubrick to survive the solar flare. There is a law that they don't technically have to save anyone when stranded, as it could lead to mutual destruction. The nameless boy even thought about this law before engaging. Ironically, they use it against him and say, "Sorry, you helped us, but we won't help you." He thinks he is going to die, but Catherine comes in with a capsule and saves the boy. He needs to survive in the pod for 2 days with 1 day of oxygen. After the solar flare passes, Catherine opens the pod and provides him with fresh oxygen. She kisses him on the forehead and the two return to Mars. Catarina contacts them. He knows that she seemed different. Prometheus and Scheherazade haven't been making progress, but Snow White and Warlock are coming along. MC0022, next winter. Snow White and Warlock are hidden from everyone. The kid uses a Mars suit to train with Dr. T. Miss Catherine never trained, nor did Catarina. Catarina also neglected her violin. Later, he overhears Dr. T, Professor W, and Miss Catherine talking about Catarina. They doubt that she is ever going to pilot Snow White. They're transporting Snow White and Warlock to a polar base. Later that night, Catarina stole Prometheus and fled to Relina City. They want the nameless boy to go after her, but he is only trained in Mars suits. The nameless boy says that he finally has a name. He calls himself Troa Phobos. Later, Catarina steals a vessel called the Zagreb and heads to Olympus Mons. Troa Phobos follows her, but she notices and sends a message. She says that his new name is stupid when they are surrounded by mobile suits. They happen to be Magwanac mobile dolls. They're slimmer, but ultimately the same Magwanac, just unmanned. Two other mobile suits approach. It happens to be Snow White and Warlock. Snow White's pilot asks if Catarina intends to join Relina. Catarina answers, and Snow White begins his attack. This half of the book starts with a quote from Scheherazade from 1001 Nights. MC 0022, next winner. Catarina's father is Zaid Tabla Winner, who died in AC 195 as we saw in the series. Her middle name is Ode, named after an instrument, just like Catra and Zaid, whose middle names are Rabara and Tabla. That's something new that I didn't know. Her mother, Zaid's wife, is also named Catarina. We learn that she is a test tube baby. Test tube baby. She asks Catra if he has ever been glad that he were born. He says he would only know the answer when he is about to die, meaning he hasn't found happiness just yet. He goes on to describe survivorship guilt to Catarina. This is a common problem with soldiers who live when their comrades die. He reflects on taking his parents' lives. Catra blames his father's sacrifice on himself, and his mother died giving birth to him. He has always been the one to take the peaceful option if necessary. Catra's philosophy is make the compromise, lament in the inconveniences, find satisfaction in the compromises, and move on. Some of you should follow Catra's philosophy. He reminds us all why total pacifism isn't possible. Catra is paying for the consequences of the past in a time of peace. He takes it in strides. MC 0015 to 0019. Catarina was raised by Dr. Iria, Catra's sister. She treated her more or less as her mother. She later learns that she is also a test tube baby as well. We learn that there are more cloned winners. Iria runs the Winter Hospital. Late at night, Iria used to play the violin for her. She one day tells her about Catra. He has never been loved before. So dramatic. He says that he is unique. I need the kanji on this one because I don't know what unique refers to in this situation. Because of how dramatic this is, I am going to assume general celibacy and not implying any type of homosexuality or asexuality. All of these guys are like monks pretty much. I mean, one of them's a priest. She wants Catarina to carry on the winner name. She plays Irene's violin and reads stories from 1001 Nights. They also play a game called Image Trace, which syncs brainwaves with memories from the past. She uses it to watch old memories of Irene playing the violin. A couple of times a year, Uncle Rashid visits. This is Rashid Karama, leader of the Magwanac Corps. His beard is now white. She believes that the two may be in love. She asks him why don't they get married and wonders if it is because she is a test tube baby. Test tube baby. He in fact already has a wife and tells her that people walk different paths. But Catarina thinks that everyone should speak from the heart. She doesn't really understand love at this age, but has an appreciation for the universe. While at the Winter Hospital, there are two patients that Catarina talks to. One of these people is Marlene Darlian, Relina's mother. She seems to have Alzheimer's and refers to Catarina as Relina. The other person was a young girl named Stella. She struggles with congenital lung and heart issues. Over time, she built a wall and became distant, but then the two mended their friendship. Catarina mentions that she thinks that she may have 29 older sisters and one brother. Stella received a lung and heart transplant. In MC 0019, she regained health. She was 5 and Catarina was only 4. Uncle Rashid came to visit once again and gave her a pair of Magwanac Corps goggles as a gift. This gave her more confidence. MC 0022, next winter. We return to the present, to Catarina's point of view. Snow White's beam saber is drawn. It takes out her hover skiff. Luckily, it didn't damage Prometheus, which means they are after the Gundam. The goggles shield her eyes from the dust. A sandstorm begins. She tries to get in contact with Rashid. This isn't Rashid the human. She gets into the lead unit of the Magwanac mobile doll, which is based off of the Magwanac Rashid Kurama custom. She gets in and begins controlling the squad of mobile dolls. she sends 7 of the Rashid mobile dolls towards Snow White. The XXXG 00YSW Wing Gundam Snow White Prelude is the predecessor to Wing Gundam Zero and follows the same design concepts. However, the red and blue colors found in the protagonist's Gundam have been removed to give it that white angelic look. The Seraphim binders are the wing-like units which have 2 modes. Rondo mode, which is a defensive mode, and Anthem mode, which works in tandem with the Zweig units. It still retains the Neo Bird mode and the Zero system. Weapons include the same twin buster rifle used on Wing Gundam Zero, the new Zwerg, which is an upgraded version of the Messer Zwerg, a shield, a machine cannon, and a beam saber. She needs to keep her distance from Warlock as it resembles Death Scythe from the records, and she doesn't want to get in melee range. There isn't really any data on Gundam Warlock, but this clearly resembles Death Scythe in design. It probably just adds extra armaments and adds an improved scythe. While fighting, she thinks of music that plays to the beat of the battle. Warlock takes on 40 mobile dolls, while Snow White rushes towards 7 Rashids. Because of the music, her movement patterns are insane. This throws off the Warlock pilot, Duo Maxwell. Hiro and Snow White has no trouble taking down the mobile dolls. He tries to stop Catarina, but she is determined to take Prometheus for herself. While Hiro is occupied, Catarina sets her sight on Troa Phobos. MC0020, next autumn. Stella and Catarina were in the same class at St. Minerva Academy. One day, during gym class, Stella collapsed and immediately was rushed to Iria, but they sent her off to the central hospital in the city. Iria mentions that her sister, who is also a clone, was in an accident and is a vegetable. Apparently, Stella was supposed to be the clone used for harvesting, but considering the situation, looks like things are going to be reversed. We find out that the rich in this universe create dozens of clones based off of their DNA. This is for harvesting purposes if it is needed for the host. They are still treated like a daughter or son, but it is still clear their life's purpose is to serve the host. She returns to school a few months later. She stopped going to the winter hospital, and the two became distant once again. Stella soon became friends with others in the school and treated Catarina like an outcast for being a clone, which is ironic. Then an attack happened at the port. An anti-Federation group attacked with Mars suits. The kids were locked down at school, but then the school was attacked. Many are injured and killed. Catarina finds her missing goggles. A dead girl had them, which means they were stolen by one of the catty girls. They're too young to be called catty bitches, I'll be nice. There is one downed Mars suit in front of her. She opens the cockpit to find a Federation pilot panicking. She wants to take over, but the biometrics are matched to the pilot. Catarina says, "I'm a main character in a Gundam Wing franchise. I don't need your help." She hacks it, deletes the database, and adds Catra's biometrics from the hospital records. She goes into action with her goggles on and is able to take down all of the Mars suits. Suddenly scared, she decides to run away towards Iria. When she returns to her, she is met with a silver-haired man. It is Catra. He is amazed with her skills with the Mars suit, but is afraid that she will rely on it too much. She asks if he is living in a way that's true to himself. He says that he will spend his life searching for that answer. He and Dr. T want to take her under their wing. Iria gives Catarina her violin to take with her. The two bid each other farewell. MC0022 next winter. Catarina goes after Troa Phobos. She is losing many mobile dolls and fast. She is using the Mirror Trace program that she used as a game. This program allows her to mimic her enemy's moves. She splits the two mobile suits up because she doesn't want the two to learn the subtle nuances of one another, even though it puts her at a tactical disadvantage. While Warlock and Snow White were distracted, Troa was able to come in and disable her machine. They try to get her cockpit open. MC0022, first spring. Catarina gets a call from Iria asking her to visit. At the Winter Hospital, Iria wants her to help Marlene find Relina Darlian. She wonders if the one running for president of the Martian Federation is the same Relina. She promised to take off her mask if she won. She took Marlene to Relina City for her inauguration. As her car passed by, she jumped out of the car instantly and recognized her mother. Mother and daughter were finally reunited. Catarina was invited to the presidential residence. There, she met Relina's nephews, Naina and Millie Peacecraft. Their family and the winners seem to not be on good terms, but we aren't explicitly told why. Naina argues for total pacifism while Millie takes a more direct approach. No matter the approach, They need some form of black ops to get this dirty work done. America in the real world has the CIA, the Earth sphere has the preventers, so they need something similar. But she believes that if a select few is doing the dirty work, then they are taking on the brunt of humanity's pain, and society hasn't achieved peace. Millie takes off Catarina's glasses and says her eyes are more beautiful than Earth. Oh my, a night full of political philosophy and compliments? And they say chivalry isn't dead. He then puts a violin in her hands. Millie pulls out a flute and says, check it out. Pretty cool, huh? He gets her to jam out with him. She begins playing a bit of Scheherazade mixed with gypsy scales. Millie then joins in. She felt lightly fatigued, but everyone cheered her on, including Millie. She says that this duet is the greatest performance of her life and wished this night would never end. MC 0022, next winner. Back at the battle, Catarina had one final move to play, or as she puts it, she has to play the final movement of the War Sonata. Choa tells her to raise her hands as he opens the hatch. The watch on her wrist is monitoring her pulse. She puts herself into a panic attack. This triggers the self-destruct sequence on the Rashid Magwanak. Oh snap, first attempted suicide of the story. Gundam Wing is back, baby. Catarina tells Troa, your hat looks stupid. And then she kisses him, causing confusion. In this moment of confusion, Millie and Naina come in to save her and Prometheus Gundam. Hiro says his plan was too naive. As they fly away, she apologizes to the winners as she made the decision to leave them behind. But more importantly, she apologizes to Millie as she wanted him to be the first person she kissed. And that will conclude Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, Frozen Teardrop Volume 3. We are starting to see some of the cracks in the seams that is the Gundam Wing universe. Catherine in Gundam Wing was so saddened by Troa's involvement in war, but here she is like a drill instructor. Many of the main cast outside of Hiro are burdened with their past, but they seem to have no problem allowing their children to make the same mistakes. Also, Millie and Naina's conversation about total pacifism is literally the same thing we saw in Wing. We've been through this and solved this problem already, but here we are waxing philosophical about a solved problem. Next time we begin Frozen Teardrop Volume 4. We will focus our attention back on the lives of Father Maxwell and Maxwell Jr. Buffet pilots Epion Bai. Of course, he names it Nataku. We also see Virgo 4 mobile dolls in action. But that will do it for this episode, losers. Remember, always practice your fingering. You don't want your flute skills to get rusty. Peace.